I'd heard about the plane crash at Moonlight Creek. It happened back in '42, so it's surprising to find the remaining wreckage in pretty good condition. There are still clues to be found here that are the start of an amazing survival story. This is one of those old American warbirds. It was originally called a Liberator bomber. So it took off from Iron Range airstrip right up in the Cape York area, flew up a whole bunch of others to do a bombing raid up in New Guinea. On its way back it got lost and it ended up running out of fuel just here, right in the Gulf of Carpentaria. Out of the whole crash, there are only 6 blokes who survived it. 2 of them walked that way to Escott Station and got rescued, and the other 4, they made a disastrous decision. They went west. Out of that 4, only 1 lived, but he lived for 5 months. Now this part of the world here, in Australia, is very stark, because the area we're talking about is right here in the Gulf of Carpentaria, right on the Northern Territory border. And to survive around here, you've really got to keep your eyes open, because food and water is very scarce. The 4 airmen were walking west to nowhere. They were strangers in a totally foreign landscape. The navigation equipment on their aircraft had broken down, so they had no idea where they were or where they were heading. Over the next few months, they would have to put up with extreme weather conditions. The humidity and monsoonal rain of the wet, plus scorching 40-degree heat. The only gear they had with them was some matches, a knife, 1 fish hook, and a few bars of chocolate. They lived on berries, bush passion fruit, melons, and the odd snake and a few frogs. But like most Australians, they weren't really sure what they could eat out here. The little bit of food they found just wasn't enough. In the wet, rivers became a major problem. They turned into fast-flowing torrents. During one difficult crossing, one of the men was swept away and drowned. He was simply too weak to make it. What the rest of them never realised was that there was a food source right on the riverbank. It grows all along the rivers and creeks up here in the north, the pandanus. Up here, we've got the little terminal bud at the end of the branch here. And you can get at that just by peeling back the leaves. Just chop a few away, because right in the middle of this is a meal. There we go. And that's what you can eat in there. Same as the palm, it's got that cabbagey type taste. Because really what you're eating is the white base of the leaves. Dig a bit of him out. It's not too bad. Plenty of fibre. Certainly keep you alive. you're trying to survive out here, there's one bush tucker you should try and avoid, and that's this fella here. Because this is the cycad, which is extremely poisonous. But Aboriginal people found a way you could eat him. Because these cycads contain a big mob of toxins, Aboriginals found a way that they could get rid of them by leaching them in running water. Just break this old one open so you can see what's inside. There it is there. You get quite a bit of nut for your money. Now, after about 10 days of pounding and washing and baking and boiling and all the rest of it, they'd then make a johnny cake out of it and eat it. But we've tested these things and we find that they still, after all that treatment, contain a big lot of toxins. Even when they are finished and they're baked up, they've got a taste which is about the same as wet cardboard. And I think the nutritional value is something similar. The cycad palm is one of the most primitive plants on earth, and it's a good example of how much knowledge you need to live off this country. That's why the survivors of the plane crash at Moonlight Creek were in such a desperate situation. They knew nothing about bush tucker. They could find plenty of water, but very little food. After 3 months, the 3 remaining airmen arrived at a billabong, but they had no idea of the food that was there. Most of the billabongs in Northern Australia are pretty much the same. And at that time of year, when they were here, it was wet season. So all of this dead grass here would have been green and upstanding and producing little edible nuts underneath the mud. In fact, that stuff there is called water chestnut and you can eat it. As well as that, that would have gotten these things here, which are little mud mussels. Cook them up and eat them as well. Out here, they've got the water lilies. And even when they're not producing bulbs, which are edible, you can eat the young leaves and the shoots and the whole lot. If only they'd known that, they could have survived.
Incredibly, one of the Americans did survive. He hung on for 141 days before he was found by an Aboriginal stockman. They took away the bodies of his 2 mates, who died of starvation, surrounded by food. The Moonlight Creek tragedy highlights our need to know more about the bush. That's why I spend most of my time travelling across Northern Australia getting more information on bush survival. Moving inland to the south, the landscape changes. Suddenly, you find yourself right on the edge of the arid zone. I've never catalogued bush tucker in this part of the Gulf Country before, so to me, it's all new territory. At the end of a long, tiring day, travelling through the dry country, it's great to find a campsite like this. After the heat and the dust, it's almost as if nature's decided to play a bit of a trick. It's a perfect spot for a base camp for the next few days' work. I thought I had this place to myself, but I'm wrong. The billabong and my campsite are absolutely swarming with Bufo marinus, the dreaded cane toad. It's an introduced species which is now completely out of control.
Two years ago, cane toads didn't exist in the territory, but they've moved across the Queensland border and they're going to continue moving, I'd reckon. Every creek, every billabong, every waterway is now infested with these things. They're a bit of a problem around here because the most popular bush tucker with Aboriginal people is the goanna. And the old goanna, when he sees that cane toad, he thinks it's Christmas. And he eats him, and because the cane toad's poisonous, the old goanna dies. And today, you're flat out finding a goanna in this country. You wouldn't want to eat the toad either, because he's got two poisonous sacs on the back of his neck, and that'd do you a great deal of damage.
This is the land of the Wanya and the Garawa tribes. In 1986, they were granted freehold title to their land by the federal government. 11,000 square kilometres of spectacular country, which is dominated by the escarpment they call China Wall. Small groups of Aboriginals have moved back to their tribal land to set up outstations. Dry Creek settlement sits at the base of China Wall. It's a small community, maybe 20 or 30 people. The rules are pretty strict. No alcohol's allowed here. They've set up their own store, and it provides most of the food. Even so, bush tucker still has a role to play, particularly amongst the older people.
Them trees like that, see? All them trees.
Oh, yeah. Got him?
Yeah, that's him over there.
Yeah. What do you use him for?
Well, that's one that medicine, boil him up, and another one there, they get that yellow flower.
Tommy George is the community leader here,
You cook then, you know.
and he still knows a lot about bush tucker and bush medicine.
Which one? This grey one here, grey leaf?
Yeah. Just a leaf?
Yeah, you got a fruit now. See that fruit there when he's yellow?
Oh, yeah.
He'll be right to eat it when he's yellow.
When he gets all yellow all over?
Yeah.
Unlike bush foods, bush medicines are generally available throughout the year.
And the other one there, that medicine used.
For this emu apple?
Emu apple, yeah.
The bark of the emu apple can be mashed up and used as a poultice to heal cuts and sores. And growing right alongside, there's even a gum you can eat.
You eat gum out of this one, no matter what time in the year.
Cut him and get the gum out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You go along the road.
Just eat him?
Yeah,
just eat him straight up?
Yeah, eat it straight up like that.
Anytime?
Anytime.
What do you call that one?
Yellow jack.
Unfortunately, there aren't many Aboriginals with this sort of expert knowledge today. The information's no longer as vital as it once was, especially to younger people who've been brought up on food from the store. So if I'm going to put together a detailed survival map of this area, I really depend on people like Tommy George and this community.
What we've got here is that Doomadgee map, right? And they've got all that Doomadgee country, Doomadgee Mission, Nicholson River, all that area. But on the back of him, we're putting a photograph of the bush tucker on him, right? So we've already got some of them for this area, but we've still got a lot to do because we want to fill in the whole lot of that map with Nicholson River tucker on him. You probably see some of those ones there, you might know him, eh?
An important part of this project is to prepare maps like this for Northern Australia. My army mates call them snack maps. On the back of each one, you'll find all the information you need about the bush tucker in the area. Tommy suggested we go bush for the day so that he could show me some more of the local food. It was a good excuse for a day's outing for the kids as well. For the kids, the main attraction of the day is the Billabong, a place called Crocodile Hole. In the hills behind the Billabong, Tommy knows a place where he can find a very special bush tucker. Native honey, or sugar bag as it's called.
You've got to go up there, see?
Yeah,
See that part of that hill over there?
right up in those rocks,
Yeah, that's what that honey over there.
in the rock.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a pick.
The native bee doesn't have a sting, and he looks like a little fly, a little bush fly just kicking around the place. Most often you find the hives in the middle of trees and old trunks and things like that. In this case here, we've got him under a rock, and that's pretty unusual. In fact, I've only seen it a couple of times before in a rock shelf like this.
Here we go.
It's worth the effort to dig out the honey, because once you've discovered the hive, you can keep coming back to it. Later on, when the bees have restocked it, maybe in a year or so. The Aboriginals keep coming back, because this is one of their favourite foods.
How often are you getting up here, Tom?
Oh, I come around here when I want him, you know?
Ooh, there's a lump. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You want him?
Yeah, I want him.
Here we go.
The energy value of sugar bag is extremely high, around about 1800 kilojoules. Now that's quite a bit more than the energy value of honey you get out of the supermarket, which rates at about 1300 kilojoules.
Got a bit here, Tom.
All right.
Come here.
Oh,
There you go.
good. Thank you. Big mob there.
Yeah, big mob.
I love some more.
Like some more. Got that egg with him.
Yeah.
Here you go, old fella.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a bush tucker.
Sugar bag is the best bush tucker you can get. You've got to work for it. There's more here, mate.
Oh, good.
There you go.
In the past, the chewed up beeswax was used as a glue or a putty, handy for making spears and woomeras. Nothing gets wasted in the bush. Back at the Billabong, the boys have been getting some bush tucker of their own. A freshwater crocodile.
You might be just a bit dead.
This is only a small one. They can grow up to about 2.5 metres. Unlike the saltwater crocodile, these fellas are fairly harmless and timid. Still, I wouldn't try and pat one. They could give you a nasty nip.
You reckon to cook him up, Tom?
In the shallow water holes, they're quite common, and they're very easy to spear.
I'm not frightened of it. I'm not frightened of him.
What part do you eat him, the tail?
Yeah, no, up here along the back and along and on the side.
Yeah.
On the head there.
Good tucker?
Yeah.
It's just as well there's only freshwater crocodiles in here, because in this heat, I reckon there's only one place to be.
What's the water like, all right?
Yeah.
Well, I was coming in with you.
Out here, water holes of any size are few and far between. Water's scarce at the best of times, but sometimes you can find it in the most unlikely places.
You'd expect to find water in country like this, probably down in that low country around the creek lines. But occasionally, just very occasionally, you can find it up here on the high ground, the ridge lines, places like this. Because sometimes you can come across these sort of things. These are what you call native wells. And what they are is holes in the ground, sometimes bulging out underneath, which collect water and other stuff. And these wells, when the rains come, act as a catchment, and all the water goes down in there. This one here is got quite a bit of moisture in him. And if you're trying to survive, that's going to be pretty important. Cover him up again with a rock so that the sun doesn't evaporate the water off.
Water wells to Aboriginal people were extremely important. The information on where they were to be found was passed on from one generation to the next. It's amazing how a trickle of water can create a little oasis in this dry country. There's a great spot pretty close to Dry Creek where you could almost kid yourself you're in the rainforest.
Where's the water coming from, Tommy?
Yeah, the water coming from up there.
Go up the hill there.
Yeah,
We got a billabong up there.
yeah, billabong up there. Yeah, that's what the water running down.
Water has always been the key to survival, and there's water here all year round. So this is a special place for Tommy's people.
There's another one over here who we're going to have a drink, you know?
Righto.
Right, we're gonna
Coming out of the ground, that one.
Yeah, we want to have a drink here.
Yeah, right. Get a shower, you?
Yeah, yeah.
You're coming out of that rock up there, Tommy.
Yeah. There's them fig tree around here. There's one up there, and one over here.
What time do you reckon we get in?
Oh, you get him about wet time, you know?
Yeah, Christmas time.
Yeah, Christmas time you get him.
Cluster figs are found all over the north, and they're pretty good eating. nice and sweet. These won't be ready for at least another month. Of course, there are some foods that you can eat at any time of the year. A good emergency standby is the cabbage tree palm. These palms are unusual for this part of the world, but they're growing here because of the water.
Have a look, eh?
All right.
Cut him up?
Yep, why not? I'll get a photo. You can cut him up.
All right.
The old cabbage tree palm is a pretty useful plant. The leaves can be used for thatching and the trunk as a compress to relieve backache. And if you cook it up, it's supposed to be pretty good for sore throats.
You can do that, see? You can cut only one side of it.
Timber country.
Yeah.
Oh no, Kakadu way. I got this one here, big tall one, skinny one.
Yeah, you get a lot of this on Man Creek along Burketown.
Burketown way.
Yeah, in the Burketown way along the Gregory River.
Or a little short one or a tall skinny one?
Big, tall one.
Right down the heart.
Yeah, down to the heart.
Something right here. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that tucker now, see?
Right, that one there.
Yeah. More down here, see?
The cabbage tree palm, like every other bush food, has its own nutritional value. And that's why I take samples for scientific testing.
You cut him up now.
You want to cut him off a bit and we put him in here?
Yeah.
But I guess it might seem slightly strange that I'm doing 20th century analysis of a bush tucker that Aboriginals have been living on for 40,000 years.
Yeah, fill him right up.
You should have a bigger bottle, eh?
You reckon I need a bigger one? You got too much.
Yeah, you got too much there.
Push him down. Yeah, put a cap on.
Still, as anyone will tell you, the final test of any food is in the eating.
Hey.
You want to try him?
Yeah, too right.
And of course, in the right company.
That's all right, isn't
Yeah. Good tucker.
Yeah. It's not bad at
That's why
all.
we live on this one out here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I thought you lived on the tin tucker down the store.
Oh, that's one. You know what come down here, our bush tucker.
Oh, yeah?
This is our bush tucker.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Give me
we
more.
got a lot of them here. Yeah, you want more? You want another piece?
Yeah. All right. Right.
I'll have one too.
You have one too.
Good?
Yeah, too right. Too right. That's a good one in the middle there.
Yeah, that's a good one in the middle. You want a bit more?
Yeah.
All right.
Good one?
Yeah.
The soft one.
Yeah. Jingo, you like this bush tucker here?
Yeah. Pretty soft that one. Right in the middle.
Yeah. All right?
All right, all right.
Yeah, cut him up here. You want a bit more?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Right.
Yeah, no more.